This episode is brought to you by Autotrader.ca. Shopping for a car can sometimes leave you feeling a bit on edge. Because how do you really know if you're getting a great price or not? Easy. You use the Autotrader app. Autotrader compares and rates millions of cars using live market pricing. They let you know when the price of a car is great, good, fair, or above average. So you can feel confident you're getting a great car at a great price. Get the Autotrader app today.
Okay, there's a new report out today from RBC that suggests retirement levels are about to surge as we enter the quote-unquote new normal. And for more on that, let's welcome in certified financial planner Mark Halpern. He joins us here on Global News Radio 640 Toronto. Mark, good afternoon. Appreciate you joining us.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
All right, first off, what is fueling this expected retirement boom that's on the horizon?
Well, let's face it, people are even concerned about going back to work today, social distancing, wearing masks, etc. Everybody's been working remotely. And I think that there's a feeling of people, recognizing perhaps dissatisfaction in their jobs, right? And maybe this is a time to change and just wanting to break out, especially after being trapped in COVID for so long and seeing that there's light on the other side of the tunnel and sort of wanting to be in a situation where they can stop working if they want to and actually enjoy some of the fruits of retirement. So I think, every situation is unique, but there's no question you're going to see a huge, huge increase of people actually pushing the button to go into that retirement world.
Yeah, the survey from RBC suggests upwards of maybe 40% more retirements in the coming 6-8 months. And is a lot of that also fueled, do you think, Mark, by those that maybe put off the decision that when the pandemic first hit, there was obviously a lot of uncertainty and people that were ready to push that button just didn't do so because of it?
Yeah, I would think so. I'd also think that, there's downsizing by companies. How many companies are actually going to be hiring back? Were they fiscally able to maintain what they were doing pre-COVID going forward? And I think that people are much more aware as a result of COVID, their mortality. They're aware of their mortality. They're aware of their, that they're going to retire one day. And really COVID has sort of forced that upon all of us. And as a result, people are just reassessing their situation and realizing they have a lot of incompletions in their life. There could be estate planning incompletions, like having wills or insurance or having a document where everybody knows where your stuff is. But one of those is also in retirement. I think people have done lots in the way of investing, a lot of investing. That's what the focus is. But people haven't done a lot in the area of planning. Planning is very different. And that means planning one's retirement as well. And it's a different mindset that you have to bring to that.
Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about that. For those listening right now that have been reassessing things, that are thinking about maybe retiring in the next 6 months, what should they consider if they're looking at retirement? What is the number one or a couple of big questions that they need to be asking themselves, do you think?
I'm going to say three things, really. And again, this is how it's different from investing. The first thing that comes to mind is your mindset has to shift from making to preserving. So preserving what you have, because you might not be adding more to it along the way. So that would be number one. Number two would be maximizing your income. How do you generate money from your money if you're not working, right? So that would be a second consideration. And the third is really tax efficiency or tax inefficiency. How do I hold on to more of my money? So it's a very different shift than just investing money. And as a result, it really requires people to sit down and sort of put all of that data into sort of like a plan to make sure that they get a check mark that they're going to be fine in retirement based on a whole bunch of assumptions and, helping kids get started or buying a vacation property, whatever the case might be, but also realizing what's the tax today and what might be the tax at life expectancy and being able to see, do I have money in my plan that I'm just paying taxes on? And can I use that to perhaps preserve what I have for my family or to extend my retirement? And it's not just about, having an RSP or a RIF or buying a GIC. Interest rates are so low right now and taxes are so high that people have to look for more sort of creative or tax efficient ways of extending their money so they can extend their retirement.
Those three areas, those three questions you just pinpointed, they're very interesting. And I was just wondering, what is the toughest of those three questions really to answer? Because I would think that first, when you mentioned that mindset shift to preserving, I would think that that would be the toughest, at least early on in your retirement, is to think that I'm no longer, earning or consuming. I'm just trying to preserve income.
Well, think of it. When do you spend more money? During your vacation or during a regular work week?
Yeah, well, vacation, obviously, for sure, right? I mean, yeah, you've got you're out to have a good time.
Right. So imagine being on a 30-year vacation, right? Yeah, you can sort of hold back and reduce your spending, but the hardest part is starting. The hardest part is sitting down and finding a coach, finding a planner, somebody who's not there to necessarily sell a product to you, but somebody who can sort of help you and guide you. If you look at, you were talking about the Stanley Cups, the teams who are the best coached win the Stanley Cup. The people who win gold in the Olympics have a coach. I think a lot of people out there are doing it on their own. And that's a very bad thing. And it comes with a lot of risk. I was just with a family where, a couple in their 70s, the husband looks after all the investing and all the tax, and he's doing a great job. But what happens if suddenly he became incapacitated and he couldn't do that? Is his wife capable of stepping in to look after that? So you really need to create a team around you to help you answer these difficult questions and guide you along. It's not a do-yourself, but if you can get to that point, all the other things about preserving and maximizing your income and tax will all come out of that plan. But it starts with making a decision to get it done, started, and finding the right address to help you.
Yeah, just finally, Mark, is that your piece of advice for those that are looking to retire because they just simply do not want to return to the office, that there's been a shift when it comes to work and working from home, and if they're asked to return to the office, they might retire? And if they are going to do that, do they need to really sit down with a coach, with an expert, and look at these three questions you've mentioned in all the different angles?
Yes, I definitely encourage that. The time to look after all of this stuff is clearly while the sun is shining. And, we've been through some dark times, and it really is incumbent to sort of take a break, take a step back, and just reassess where you're at. If you're going to step into that wonderful world of retirement, one of the biggest challenges that I find is people are afraid. They're afraid of what they might find out, so therefore they don't do it. But the remarkable thing is once you've gone through the process, often you find out that there's not sort of a scary monster at the end of that movie, that in fact, you can retire, and you can actually increase how much money you're going to be spending during your retirement. And you can actually give money away to kids or to help with charities or whatever. That only comes from information and having the wisdom and knowledge of the planning to do that. That's why most of this is sort of renting space in our brain, and we're afraid to go ahead and take the step to retire. We're afraid to go ahead and get the help because we're afraid of what we might see. And I think a lot of your listeners would be very surprised that actually they can retire, and they can retire comfortably. And by doing that, I think that will give them a lot of peace of mind.
All right. Some great advice from Mark Halperin, CEO of WealthInsurance.com. Mark, really appreciate the conversation and your time this afternoon. Thanks so much.
Pleasure. Look forward to speaking again. Thanks for having me.
You bet.